All right, everybody, welcome to Learning the Tropes. I'm your host, Erin, and today joining me is TV writer Claire Nauman. Hi, Claire.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for coming. So you are one of our romance novel virgins,
Oh,
are
yeah,
you? Okay.
definitely.
Because I know you were a Virgin River fan. And so then I was thinking like, oh, if she was a fan of Virgin River, it's because she read the books, but no.
Nope, not even a little bit.
um So Claire and I know each other because we're in a writing group together. Her, myself, and Taylor from the Daisy Sessions. We meet every 3 weeks-ish
Yes, we do.
to ostensibly talk about our writing. And that does happen.
Absolutely. We definitely do that.
And then other times we talk about other things. But you know what? It's all writing. And
Yes.
that's what we have to keep reminding ourselves.
You got to live a rich and interesting life in order to write, and we do that.
Exactly. Thinking is writing.
Yeah.
So Claire, you just mentioned that you are interested in learning how to surf.
I am. It's like been something I have wanted to do since I moved to California, and I've been here over 6 years, and I tried once, like a friend kind of took me out and gave me a few pointers, but I've never really like had that moment where I like get up on the board, you know? So maybe this summer I'm thinking like, yeah, I think surfing's in my future.
I love that. The thing that I love about you, many things obviously, but one that I'll talk about now is how you're so like you go out and you do things like when you're interested in something and then you just make it happen, and I love that.
I
Because you
think you do
just
that too. I think like you're always off doing stuff. You're like
I'm
the
off
most
traveling.
extroverted person I know.
Yes. Yeah. Can you believe I thought I was an introvert until the pandemic?
That's so funny. That's hilarious. But
And then I told Taylor and she was like, "You're out of your goddamn mind. You thought that."
self-discovery is important. I'm glad that you've discovered this about yourself.
But wait, would you call yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm I'm an introvert. I'm a little in the middle. Like I
Okay.
definitely need people to some degree and I get sad without them. So what is that? Ambivert? I think,
I
you
feel
know.
like that's extrovert because it's like everybody needs time alone. Like
Mm,
ultimately, like I definitely do too. But I do think it's the sort of thing like after I spend time with friends or around people, I feel like I can lift a truck. I'm having a great time. Like I get energy from that, and other
mm.
people get like depleted from it. Where it's okay for me to spend time alone, but then there's a time like it turns and there's a time where it's not okay for me to spend time
Yeah, yeah.
you
That's
know?
probably true for me too. I don't know. Depends on the people. You know, some people give me energy and some people don't. So
Yeah. I'm all trying to just gather more information about you because what we're doing in these, because you're the first person who's doing this kind of an episode. But basically, I am talking to romance virgins, and then I'm going to sort of recommend you your first romance novel, which we all know is a huge deal because it could be your gateway into the whole genre and can be very exciting. Um, so, yeah, so you mentioned you'd never read romance novels before. Obviously, we've talked about romance novels in the past, but sort of what is your feeling around romance novels in general?
I've really enjoyed some adaptations, TV and film adaptations of romance novels, but like I said, I haven't read the underlying source material. So, for instance, Virgin River is a great example. Another one is The Hating Game. You guys talked about that on this podcast, right?
Yeah, we read The Hating Game. And
Yeah,
then I think
okay.
we talked about the adaptation too.
I think you might have, or at least we talked about it at some point.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I'm always like, wow, that was fun. Like, why am I not reading these books? But I think once I've seen an adaptation, it's hard for me to go back and read the book because I get
Mhm.
attached to the way it was presented on screen. So, um, yeah, I think like in general, I'm a big Jane Austen fan. So I've certainly read like, you know, the OG Regency romances. And then I'm very, you know, it's so interesting to me that people have been like, well, those were great. Like, why don't we write a bunch more of those and add in more sex? And it's like, that seems like a recipe for success. Absolutely.
Yeah.
um, But I think I'm honestly not the biggest reader. Like I think I really challenged myself to read books last year, and I think I managed to read like 10. Um,
Okay.
and so, I loved reading as a kid, but just like in the last, decade, I just haven't read as much as I used to. So, I think for all those reasons, like I just haven't gotten around to really investigating romance as a reading genre, and I would love to be introduced to kind of like a book uh that you think I would like.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. So you don't have any sort of like, it's not real literature or anything like that. It's more that you're like generally not a huge reader.
It's really not. I mean, I think like it's I don't know. I don't think I fully respect it as a genre. I think I've just never really given it a true shot. And I think with the right book, I would really like it.
Yeah, I think so too. So
I
of those, sorry.
Oh, just really quick, I know, tropes is in the title of your podcast. So I do think in general in like love stories, there's some tropes I really love, like marriage of convenience is one that
Okay,
I
okay.
love in all different formats. I do love like a slow burn. I do love an enemies to lovers. So I know of those tropes and I've certainly seen those in various formats. So I don't know if that helps you, but those are definitely some things that I love.
Okay, this is huge. Okay, this is good. Coming to me with tropes is helpful. So of the 10 books that you read last year, which would you say was the one that you enjoyed the most, or what,
Hmm.
or in general, or we can open that up too, just sort of like your favorite books in general.
That's interesting. I think of last year, I read a book that Taylor, who's been on the podcast, mentioned called The Plot, which was
Mm,
this book about basically this guy who steals someone else's idea for a book and writes the perfect plot. Um, so like a little bit twisty, a little bit like there were some big reveals, a little bit of a mystery.
mhm.
And that was fun. I mean, I think like historically, my favorite books have been kind of that Jane Austen adjacent genre. Like I loved the Anne of Green Gables books growing
Oh,
up,
yeah.
and I loved Middlemarch by George Eliot, and I'm a big Henry James fan. Like I love A Portrait of a Lady. Um, Although I have some qualms with it. I would rewrite the ending, but that's just um, yeah, I don't know. So I think like old English kind of romance with a lot
Yeah.
of societal pressures and things that, people have to overcome because of the class they were born into, like stuff like that.
Gotcha.
You're getting so many ideas. I can see
I
it.
know, it's so exciting. And you know what? I love this because I was like, should I just suggest like the books that I think that she should do? And no, because this book hadn't come to me until this moment. Um, that we haven't done shockingly, but let's keep talking because I want to make sure that this
Oh,
is the correct one.
that's great.
Um, so you're down for historicals, which is exciting because sometimes people
Oh,
would be like, no.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. In fact, I might prefer. I mean, I could
prefer.
almost for sure tell you I'd prefer a historical. Although,
Good.
wait, last or 2 years ago, I did read a book that you guys talked about because a lot of times I would like have the aspiration to read the book that you're going to talk about on the podcast. By the way, listeners, I'm a huge fan of this podcast and I've been listening to it for years, which is just like crazy. But I
But you
don't
were
really.
listening to it after you met me.
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
I
yeah,
became a
yeah,
fan of you personally and then, delved into your media.
yeah. Thank
Um,
you.
but I don't read the books. I still just listen to the discussions. So it has really made me think like, oh, what would I like to read after listening? And so, yeah, I did try out one book that you guys talked about that was the Flatshare one.
Oh, right.
And that was cute. Yeah. but I do think like if it had been set 100 years before, I would have liked it better for sure. So,
Yeah, it was also closed door.
it was closed door.
Just like, fine, I guess.
But
You
is that
know,
really what we're here for?
I'm not here for a closed door. I'm here. This is like part of what I like, whatever. There's like, there are romances that don't, it's not necessary to the genre, but
Yeah,
there was a
totally.
lot of, here's the thing that annoys me about that. So much buildup, and then we get a fade to black where it's like, that's not fair to tease us that much and then be like, and we'll wake up tomorrow and see what happens. No.
Yeah, especially because the whole book had such intense stuff in a way. You're like, I need something to counterbalance this that's also intense, but like what we want to see.
Yeah. Exactly. Something else people should know about you. You're very smart. And that's something that I also love about you. You went you went to MIT. You're a scientist.
By
What did you
training,
study?
yes, I
Yeah.
studied biology.
Mhm.
Yep, and I worked for a biotech company for years after college, and I just, even though I'm a writer and have kind of stopped doing science as my career,
Mhm.
I love science. I love like I think nerds rule the world as they should, and um, it's always something I'm going to be interested in. Like, I will always love a science museum. I recently went to the observatory here in LA, and I just loved, all their little like exhibits, and yeah, big old nerd.
Amazing. Love it. Okay. I literally just had to check if we had already done this book because I'm shocked that we haven't. And I'm just going to go ahead and announce what it is now. Because it's too perfect and I can't believe that I didn't consider it for you before. It is called When a Scot Ties the Knot by Tessa Dare.
Oh boy.
And it has everything. So it takes place in Scotland, and there is a woman who is an introvert and a scientist. She's a biologist. She draws animals for an encyclopedia that somebody's creating.
Ooh.
And she does not want to get married. And so when everybody was during her season was like going to balls and stuff, she didn't want to go to the balls. And so she just invented a fiance and started writing letters to him and told everybody like, oh no, I don't have to go to the ball because I'm already engaged. So then her season, she killed him off eventually because it was the Napoleonic Wars. And she was like, oh no, he's dead. Sorry. So then she was in mourning. And so she inherited this castle. Somehow she's at this castle. I don't remember exactly why. I'm sure we'll figure it out when we read it. And the dead husband she made up knocks on her door.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Dramatic tension continues. So I just checked because I looked at my phone very rudely while we were talking. We haven't done this book for the podcast. I think I might have talked about it for another podcast, but I don't remember now. And so we'll do this one. Yeah.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah. Are you excited?
I'm
How are
so
you feeling?
excited. I feel like this is going to be really fun.
Awesome. I'm so excited to do this with you, especially you've listened to us talk about romance novels so much to have only read one, let's be honest, like middle one. That I'm really excited for you to read this one, which is like truly one of the greats and so
Oh my
fun.
gosh.
And Tessa Dare is great because she's very cinematic and
Okay.
very like rom-commy. Like it feels like things move really quickly and are really fun and in a good way.
Awesome. I am so stoked. Thank you so much for your expert, suggestion, and I can't wait.